Up to what, level 70 now?
Yeah,
Or
it's just
80.
80.
You got off the treadmill. Thank you, nerds.
He says at the D&D panel.
Yeah. Speaking as a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, like, it's explore this world, kill stuff, take treasure, watch your numbers go up.
Sure. Well, I mean, Monty Cook's Orc and Pie, most basic encounter definition sort of applies here, right? That's essentially every D&D encounter. You see the orc, you kill it, you take its pie. It would be more interesting to me, of course, if that encounter involved talking to the orc, swindling it out of its pie, and moving on. But that's
It takes longer for your numbers to go.
it takes longer for your numbers to go on. Exactly.
Double experience for that.
Maybe the pie's poisoned, so.
I'm going to be interested to see if the next generation coming up, like how World of Warcraft affects them, right? Because people of our age, if you were a nerd of a certain type, you played D&D.
Yes.
Right? And today, if you're a nerd of a certain type, you probably encounter WoW before you encounter D&D. And
Yes.
it's probably more formative for you. And you don't understand leveling up and all this and that you're part of this continuity, you know, from D&D down into WoW. Maybe you start later, maybe not. But it'll be interesting to see how, when they age and so on, like how that affects the industry and gaming.
I used to run a creative writing workshop with grade school kids using pictures, like cards. A lot of it was stuff I'd left over from Everway, actually, trading cards, fantasy trading cards and stuff, where the kids would take these images and then draw stories about them. And the one kid at the end of the story about, you know, the evil wizard and the good dragons and the whatever, there was the big battle. And then at the end it said, and they all leveled up.
Pretty much it, right there.
The numbers went up.
It is deeply satisfying to do that, and yet...
Don't admit it.
No, it is! Still. But I spend all my time on the DM side of the screen, right? So I...
Well, you get to level up as a person. By running a bad game.
Why is it
I
that
just
being
like
a better
using
person
bigger
is it's less... Bigger monsters.
Yeah, that's
more
your
TVs.
reward, right? You get to use the cooler monsters.
How can I kill them today?
Yes. Well, let's take a few
That's
questions.
what I said when Monster Manual 2 came out, I think, is your DM has leveled up.
Which monster?
There's been several.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could go and talk about what is D&D for Dungeon Masters, but I would like to kind of open it up to a few questions here. We've got a few good ones, and might as well take one.
All right, so what exactly do you think stat increases do for players? I mean, why is it satisfying? What need is it satisfying? Because you've got programs like, I don't know if you heard Progress Quest,
Yes.
where basically
Brilliant.
they simulate that exact banal experience of increasing numbers. You just leave it on as a background,
Yep.
program. So, how could that be at all entertaining? What is it about increasing your stats or leveling up that players find satisfying?
Probably has something to do with evolutionary biology.
Yeah.
I knew you were saying that, Bruce. That was the direction I was going with it.
Hunter-gathering sorts of, years, thousand, however many years of gathering stuff, collecting stuff, so you can, eat and live. I'm sure there's something within us that gets some sort of biological kick from gathering things, gathering numbers,
Getting more.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, but that's player identification as well, because you have to identify with the character.
It's way below character identification, and it's just at a really fundamental level of, it's like opening your wallet and seeing more dollar bills there, or whatever, right? Like what,
Well, this is the classic psych experiment that I read about in Psychology Today. Walking around with a stack of cash, this makes people happy. Now, it's the same cash they had in the bank, and if you walk around with your wallet empty and the cash in the bank, your level of wealth has not changed.
Right.
But if you can look in the wallet and say, hey, I have $600, you feel better about yourself that day, and it's a measurable correlation.
Yeah.
If you put it in your tub and lay it
Well, this would make us feel better, but we have more, and we can see that more.
starts way back when. I've got more sand on my side of the sandbox.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go to that side of the sandbox because there's more sand. We
Yeah,
always
all
want
the-
more.
All the proto-humans who didn't want more all got shoved out by our ancestors who did.
But I think the trick of it though is making the rewards feel like they mean something. Like, I was playing a video game recently, and towards the end game of it, while throughout the game the distribution of rewards and treasure was pretty even, at the end they just start throwing shit at you. Like, here's more armor, here's more swords, and it was more stuff than you could ever use. And by the end of the game, you're like, wow, this would have been awesome 5 levels ago, but now it's like, whatever, I'll throw it in my inventory, and I probably will never use it in this game. And at that point, the reward structure, you just didn't feel special anymore. It was like, whatever.
Right,
You know,
right.
more swords.
It's like
Well, if
WoW.
Yeah,
That's like WoW is now.
if you ask players, they'll say, well, of course I want more stuff. I want it all now. Let me level immediately, today, tonight, now. But part of what makes D&D great is, the Dungeon Master's job is partly to say no.
Yeah, earning.
And to, make them earn it and keep it interesting until they do work.
I had a GM in college, and he had a whole philosophy about he always liked to make the players hungry, which was okay, except his idea of that was we finish a whole adventure, and at the end of it, we're teleported into an alley, we're immediately knocked out, and we wake up naked on a slave ship bound for their continent. Hey, thanks, man, for taking all of our stuff, making us slaves. Awesome.
Get to earn it back.
Well, I think the game has a lot of reward systems, right? I mean, XP and leveling up is just only one part of it,
Pretty
and it's a big one, and I think a lot of characters, that's what they really look forward to. But just a magic trinket, just a title of a special seat at the local tavern, just little things.
Winning a good fight.
Yeah, exactly.
A good
Yeah.
story about the time you double 20 the second.
Yeah, or just telling a good tale in front of the tribe. It could be anything, right? I think a lot of folks bring a lot of different desires, and while leveling up is certainly very universally pleasurable for most, it's just little bits and things. I think the game is really good at that, about finding different ways to reward you kind of all the time.
I was thinking it's going to kill Traveler, don't you think?
What was that?
You mustered out in Traveler, I don't know if you were playing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You mustered out, you're pretty much your max character, other than going acquiring equipment, maybe
Yeah.
like, wow, I'm sorry. And I know most people played it, D&D was more popular, especially if it had a U for your class, which meant unlimited. You go, there's never going to be a limit, you're always getting experience. And I just found that as a common where a lot of people dropped out of
No, that was a big
Traveler because I think maybe they didn't have that constant.
That sense of growth or potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tied to that, right, is all the risk, right? And that's what makes the reward worth it, right? If it's just kind of, and this kind of gets back to the whole, the app that runs in the background that just gives you levels, right? It's like, well, that's fun, I guess, but, it's part of, you have to work for it and earn it, and, I think, putting in the effort makes it all worth it and fun, right?
Somebody could just hand you a character at 20th level. That might be an interesting premise for a game, but it's probably not as rich an experience as earning it.
Well, during the first edition era, I would use those rules in the DMG for like how much it costs to make castles and things like that. And I would just endlessly bust out the graph paper and design this castle. I thought my character could afford them, but one day, if I had that, I could build this
Get a
castle.
big score.
Yeah. Ooh, how much does the retaining wall cost?
It's not the construction, it's the maintenance. All right, other questions? I'll lift the ban from that corner of the room.
Do you think D&D, the term D&D has gotten to the point where it's now like Band-Aids take the place of all wrap things that you put around your finger if you get a cut, they're all called Band-Aids. Dungeons & Dragons is now viewed as all role-playing games that are fantasy-based in orientation, just like Xeroxes originally were for copiers. Now all copiers are basically called Xeroxes.
When I was in college in the 80s, we would play miniatures games in my dorm, and we would play in the basement like after midnight. We would tape out an area